take sabbatical. To haters that are radical, I'm savage like a catapult, hiking like a Viking, armed and ready for destruction. I came to murder hip-hop, fuck all of your discussions. My ancestors wore zoot suits, riots left them foolproof. Stronger than a diamond and I'm shining like a gold tooth.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome all. Welcome everyone. This is the Friday Podcast. We're coming to you not live, but alive. Hopefully I'll get this episode out by the weekend, by the end of the weekend. But I am recording on Friday. It hasn't been that long since the last one, and I saw that there was a lot of views on it. More than likely, this film won't have as many. Usually that's the way it goes. But I've been depressed, and I took a couple days off of work, and I just slept hours and hours and hours. And now it's Friday, and I figured, let me do something creative. Let me keep the juice going. Let me keep the energy going just in case. You know what I mean? Because, the subscribers are higher than I've ever had them. 760 or something. 780. I don't know. More than 750, which for me is fire. Because I drew a picture from when I had 700. And I didn't even share it. But that was before I got off of social media again. So I've been off social media for a few days. Except for TikTok, which I just deleted today. I had it on my tablet because TikTok is show you movies and stuff, and it's a little different. There'll be conspiracy theories, and it's not run by Meta. But I realize it is a time waster though. I already have YouTube. I pay for YouTube Premium for me and my son and my mom and our homies. So that's enough. I don't need other video platforms. At least not right now. Although I am a very addictive personality. So for me, it's different than most normal people. Most normal people can just get on social media and just get off and be happy and be normal and shit. But me, I start looking at the comments. And then I go to the For You page, and apparently the algorithm thinks that I think the same thing that a certain extreme side of the political spectrum thinks. And so obviously I engage in those posts because I'm like, are you guys serious? And then of course more posts like that come, and then I'm like, oh, I'm engaging more in negativity, and it's just feeding me more negativity because it thinks that that's what I want. That's what I react to. Deep dark hole. For me, it's just not necessary. It's just changed from what it used to be. Social media used to be an escape from reality. It was just a way to connect to friends, like on MySpace and stuff, and just show your creativity. I think now social media is like a anti-creativity. Yes, you can be creative on there, but for the majority of the people who are consumers, when you're in that hole of trying to get that dopamine hit, you're wasting that's creativity juice that you could be using. So anyway, I've been off it. It's been nice, but I've still been depressed. When I was doing research for Anxiety News, I saw something that said that there's such thing as spring depression or spring anxiety. So I'm going to look into that. I look forward to reading that information. Also, the other day I saw a beautiful snowy egret, I think it's pronounced. And I was using this, bought this like last year. It's Birds of North Texas. Got it dirty. Well, that V8 on it. Anyway, it was a snowy egret. I'm going to look into that. Angel numbers. I wasn't sure what angel number to go to, so I was like, let me just go from the beginning. 0. Let me just start off with a singular number, because oftentimes when you see angel numbers, you got to break them down, right? Like breaking them down will help understanding them. So if knowing what individual number symbolizes, I think it's pretty cool. Then I had a dream, because I've been sleeping so much. I had a couple dreams, but the last two dreams, well, no, I remember I crashed. I hate those dreams where I crashed my car or a car. I did some wild, like I was a hooligan in one dream, but the dream I remember that I did some research was I was chilling and I was holding a gun and I was talking to somebody who had a gun, but we weren't hostile to each other. And I don't know the situation or why we had guns or whatever, but it was just a weird dream that I significantly remembered when I woke up. Like I remember holding it and making sure I didn't accidentally pull the trigger. Like I remember being very cautious about not. And I noticed that the other person was a little more, I guess they were more comfortable with the gun. What else? Let's see what's popping. Because, I mean, everything seems pretty decent. Obviously, negative things are happening all the time, but also positive things are happening all the time. And that's what we're going to try to look at today, ladies and gentlemen. Because while I look outside, I just saw some cardinals. I see beautiful trees and green finally growing. I see dandelions. And I think that's what those puffballs, right? They make a wish and it floats everywhere. I see the blue sky. Well, it's kind of mixed with blue and white because the clouds are, it's kind of cloudy. Yeah, I started writing the journal because my mom had this cool little journal thing, and I started writing it. I was trying to do it every single day, especially since I've been off social media. It kind of takes away that. I think we have that urge to write down our thoughts because you can't share your thoughts with everybody or they think you're a psycho or you just don't feel like it. And so that's why people used to write journals and write letters and writing diaries. So I've been trying to do that. And it's all right. There's been several times in my life throughout the years that I've done that I've written a journal. And I would like to, I got them around here somewhere, but pieced together over the years. Like, I have a couple excerpts from like 2012 and a couple from 2020 and just random, spots in my life where I decided to start writing again. So yeah, I think it's an important thing, no matter who you are, to write down some stuff because, I mean, just imagine that, like, let's say the Earth still exists in 1,000 years. Technology is gonna probably be destroyed, and we're gonna have to remake it, which has possibly been happening before, right? But they'll be able to find that paper of you writing. I mean, who knows how long it'll last? But they found like Dead Sea Scrolls and stuff, right? So, I mean, I don't know. Digital doesn't last as long as real, stuff that you can really hold and touch, like stone or petrified wood or bone or even written on cloth or paper sometimes. So I think there's a significant, and I'm sure they've done studies on how it helps. I mean, I've been trying to write. It is different writing a song when you're typing it than it is writing it on paper. I don't know if one's better yet. I think it just depends on the song. So like right now I'm working on this song that's a little more techno sounding, so it just felt right to type it while I was working on it. But yeah, man, hopefully this fast from social medias works and I get back on my more creative shit and finish writing. I want to get an album done this summer. And that's a lot of work. That's a lot of writing. That's a lot of recording. I mean, that's at least 10 songs right there. And I do want to get people on them, so that's going to be... But thankfully, Johnny can help me with that. Sleepy J, what's up? because I for sure want to get like frost money and stuff on it from St. Louis. Man, my legs been itchy. I've been thinking about getting off my. So I've been taking anxiety medication for a while. One time, a few years ago, I tried to go cold turkey, and that was not a good idea. I want to get off, but I want to wait till I have to go to the doctor again to refill and be like, yo, I'm ready to start weaning off of it. Because you can't go cold turkey. And I don't know if one of the side effects is itchy ass legs, but my legs have been itchy lately. And it could just be like eczema, but the pills could increase the likeliness of eczema, or who knows. I never read all the fucking negative, the possible side effects. And it's interesting because like I when I started taking SSRIs, I mean it was like a decade ago, more than a decade ago, and I don't know why it was happening. It's because I started getting nervous in front of people again, like at work. Like when people would stare at me, I would start getting red. And I didn't like that feeling. So then I got on Paxil one time at Levine. Because I started feeling, that's what I went to the doctor one time and I was like, hey, like, when I have like a customer or something, and they look at, I just get embarrassed. I just get red. Like I just have social anxiety, like bad. Like, and then I sweat and shit and I can't talk. So I got on Paxil one time. And then I didn't like the side effects. It made my hands itchy. That's probably what it is. It's the pills. But so I got off of Paxil, which is a strong one, which they never should have put me on first. But I think that doctor is the same doctor who was in the newspaper one time because he was like overprescribing like opium, like pills, like stuff like that. That's where I would get my lean bottles from back in the day when I was a youngster. Back then it was easier. And so anyway, then later on, I started working at Ace. No, I worked at PLS. And then when I started at PLS, I was fine. It was chilling or whatever. I mean, I had my anxiety and shit, obviously, but I mean, I would smoke and I wouldn't hang out. I would just go home. I was pretty depressed at the time. But anyway, I ended up. I mean, I was doing some rapping at the time too, so it was okay. And then I would see my son a lot. I wanted to be with his mom, but at the time, it just, everything happens for a reason. I also wanted a girlfriend at the time, but obviously I wasn't ready. And then I got promoted, and I was like, yo, I want to get on anxiety medication again, because I'm going to start feeling the pressure. And I should have just, because I didn't even last long. You know what I mean? Like I ended up letting myself quit because there was this dude there, I think, who was upset because I didn't trust him with my keys. And we were all young, but I was older than them. I didn't go to school with all of them. There was a lot of dudes that went to school together, and it wasn't personal. But they just drill it in your head, man. I guess he didn't know, like, I'm a nerd. I was a nerd at school, so I follow the rules. There's certain things where I just follow the rules, and I did come up short a couple times, and sometimes you can put in your own money, but really that's what you're supposed to do, but hopefully it's not a lot of money. Well, this time, I didn't want to, and it ended up being my third time. And I was like, you know what? I think somebody took it, because there was one C note. And I think, and I let them fire me. I was like, fuck it. But that led to, thankfully, somebody that used to work at PLS hit me up and was like, yo, I can get you a job at Ace. So I went to Ace and I worked in South Dallas for a little bit. And then you just work by yourself for the most part. I worked off of Greenville sometimes, and then I would work in Dallas sometimes, and that was cool. And then my mom told me about a job in the elementary school, and I was like, it would be nice to have vacations and stuff and guaranteed weekends off, so I could spend time with my kid. And by the time I started working at a school, my son had just got into school. so it was perfect. They were really nice at PLS, the managers, before I got fired. Like, they let me, I was a good salesman, but they let me, they would give me weekends off so I could spend time with my son. And then I was working at Papa John's sometimes on Sundays, but I would just call in all the time because I didn't want to work on the weekend also. So I got the job at the school, and nothing prepared me for that. And that was 2013. And since then, I've been there. And there's easy times, and there's hard times, and there's good times, and there's bad times. But I don't know, it's been an interesting time this year. Definitely, my patience has been tested, but overall, it's positive. Sometimes me just being me, I gotta step back sometimes because it's a very high pressure job sometimes, especially when you got like 100 kids in a room and you gotta keep them chilling for like 10 minutes. Even that, just like, cause there's kids that will fight and steal and shit, and it is what it is. Kids are kids, man. They're gonna do what they do. But, you know, you're in charge of keeping them safe, and, you know, you're in charge of keeping them, I don't know, it's stressful sometimes. And then especially when you're telling them the same thing over and over. But I would never condone, like with those 3 ladies that got arrested in wherever in Texas. That was messed up. You know, I understand frustration and stuff, but the way they did it so nonchalantly, they were like about to hit him, and then they talked about how they would taunt him and stuff. Like, that stuff's pretty wild. You know, the kids are the kids. It's not their fault. And even the kids that are not like on the spectrum, that are just, you know, kind of like, nah. Well, that's not their fault either. That's how they were raised. So it's not for the faint of heart, though, working with children. It's definitely not. And I learned a lot about myself in those high stress situations. I don't like when I lose my cool. But as I'm gonna look into later, it might be because it's springtime. You know how springtime is a sense of change, and it could just add to the depression and the allergies. And bro, allergies, fuck allergies, fuck them. On that note, we're gonna take a break, and we'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have returned. I have eaten. I don't feel so fucking distraught as I did a few minutes ago. So I was like, I didn't really eat shit, but I was drinking caffeine, drinking water. And I was like, let me get started. Now I got food in my teeth. Sorry about that. Move towards the middle. There we go. You can see the reflection on the window, to the wall, to the sweat drip down my balls. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with random questions. 3,000 questions, excuse me, about me. Sorry about the burp. Some people find it disgusting. Some people don't care. They understand that everybody has gas in their body, especially after you eat. Let's see. Question 1906. What is one thing you've really wanted lately but haven't been able to get? Ooh. Laid. 1907. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. JK, LOL. What have I wanted to get lately but I haven't got? Yeah, laid. 1907. What characteristics do you respect most in the opposite sex? What characteristics do you respect in the opposite sex? Do you most respect? Sorry. Intelligence. Kindness. like manners and stuff, and common sense, intelligence, sense of humor. 1908. Have you ever had to give someone devastating news? What was it about? No, I have not. That I'm aware of. No. That seems like it'd be very tough to do. 1909. Have you read anything by Agatha Christie? If so, what book was your favorite? Who in the world is Agatha Christie? Agatha Christie. Also known as the Queen of Mystery. She was an English playwright and detective novelist who wrote 66 novels. Her works featuring characters like Miss Marple and Hercule Poirot have sold more than 1 billion copies in English and translation and are second only to the Bible and Shakespeare. Wow, so it's kind of crazy I haven't even heard of her. Murder on the Orient Express looks pretty cool. Oh, they made a movie about it? Of course they did. What about Death on the Nile? Did they make a movie? No. Not that I see. Alright, no, I have not read any of her books. Sorry. Have you? If you have, please comment below. Let us know. And what's your favorite? What is the most expensive thing you've ever lost? Keys can be pretty expensive. Pardon. And I've lost a lot of keys before. I've misplaced my keys before several times. And to get a new key made would be pretty expensive. I mean, it's like a couple $100 or some shit. What is your favorite thing to do at the beach? I'm not really a beach person, but if I were to go to the beach, for sure I want to tan. I want to make a sandcastle. I want to splash in the water a little bit. Try to maybe boogie board. I don't know. I probably wouldn't do any of that. It's scary. Sharks and shit, and there's worms in the sand, supposedly. If you're going to be invisible for a day, what would you do? Oh, man. If I was going to be invisible for a day, why does my mind go to nefarious things? Immediately, I go to stealing money. And then maybe steal some panties. Maybe steal some weed. Of course I'm gonna steal. But what can I do good, man? Can I... Is it just for a day? Yeah. It's hard to do good for a day. I mean, once I get all that money and stuff, then I can do good with it. But unless I have like a plan and shit, like I know people who know an organization that me being invisible can break it, get them all locked up. But knowing what I know now, I don't know any situation, Stack up, baby. What card game or game in general would you... Now, we steal from people. It'd probably be businesses and stuff. Banks. Like if it's ever going to happen. What card game or game in general would you love to learn how to play? Poker would be cool. I played it a couple times, but I didn't really know how to play. My uncle was showing me, and apparently I was doing good in that game, but I think I was just getting good cards. What is one of your favorite family traditions? Probably my grandpa dressing up as Santa Claus. How fast can you run? I mean, I can run faster than kids, and a lot of people I know, but that's not that fast. And then for how long? Probably not long. but a decent speed, at least in the beginning. Do you think after a certain age, people should not be allowed to drive? Yeah. But I don't know if it should be based on age or just their specific ability. Because I'm sure there's people who are like 80 who are just, I have no idea. 1918. If humans came with a warning label, what would yours say? Why do I keep having like a fucking tickle in my throat? Probably the fucking... So I ate some pupusas and that was good, but then I ate some dessert and it has all kinds of chemicals in it. All kinds of junk in it. If humans came with the warning label. Okay, so mine would say super sensitive, bad allergies, sensitive skin. So it's just super sensitive, right? Well, that covers a lot of shit. What else? What else would we say? How am I warning? Complains a lot. I guess that goes into sensitive. Acts like he's Jewish, even though he's not. No, I'm just kidding. That's a cool question. Like, if we had warning labels, what would go on it? For sure, mine would say super sensitive, bad allergies, pees the bed until he's 8, trauma-induced, easily traumatized, tries to be funny, sometimes in inappropriate times, a little bit crazy, some anger issues. My warning label would be long as my ding dong. See, another time trying to be funny in the wrong time. What do you love most about summer? So last summer I said, you know what? Next summer I'm gonna work. I've taken off the last 10 or so summers since I've been working at a school. And now that summer's coming around, I'm like, shit. I don't know. Because one of the best things about being in summer is not being at work. My son, man, he's growing up so fast. That's pretty scary to me. But I'm very happy that he's doing so much better than me. Than I did at his age. This is from when we went to... I got tickets from... So I was at PLS, and there was a contest to win tickets. And I won tickets, and my coworker won tickets. Now, this coworker was a girl that I liked at the time. But she had the same first name as my uncle's ex-wives. And then, for some reason, she only dated Chris's. Like, she had dated a couple Chris's, and her current boyfriend was Chris. And I was like, well... I knew I may have had a chance, but I felt wrong about it. And I'm glad I didn't try, I guess, because that would have been embarrassing. She was beautiful and stuff and all that, but I don't know. Being alone is lonely, but it's kind of peaceful. So anyways, me and her won tickets, and part of me wanted to invite, like, I should have said, part of me thought that I should say, let's invite our coworkers so we could all go, and it'd be more like a flirty, friendly type of, me and her could sit next to each other, drink, maybe kiss or something. But instead, I brought my son, which I'm glad I did, because that's a core memory for me, and I hope for him. But we bought ice cream in this little baseball cap. We got a ride from one of those dudes in the bicycles. Yeah, I had fun. And she brought her boyfriend, so, it is what it is. Why did I get into it? I don't even know. Last question of the night, ladies and gentlemen. What do you consider is the most important appliance in the house? Ooh, it's a toss-up. Ooh, what's an appliance? Because I feel like it's either the oven, which includes the stove because you need to cook food to be able to eat it, or the fridge because you need to be able to preserve food so that you can eat it. But then I thought, what is the toilet? Because plumbing is one of the most important things. What's an appliance? Device or piece of equipment designed to perform a specific task, typically a domestic one. Electrical and gas appliances. Examples: air conditioners, dishwashers, not necessary. Clothes dryers, pretty good. Drying cabinets, what? Freezers, nice. Refrigerators, those. Water heaters, oh my goodness. Washing machines, trash compactors, microwave ovens, and induction cookers. I wonder if an induction cooker is and a TV is also an appliance. What is that thing that we use a lot now? The air fryer. Damn. The most important appliance in the house. Bro, that's a $1 million question right there. If I had to pick, the AC is, because you gotta sleep there. And without an AC, you're opening the windows. And if you're opening the windows, you're getting allergies. And I think from where we live in this area of North Texas, allergies are so bad, the AC. Plus the summer times, everything else is great, but not as important as the AC, I think. Now, this doesn't say toilets, so hopefully that's not an appliance because there's no electric, it's just water and plumbing and stuff. As far as that, right? There's no, how does a toilet work? That's crazy, man. They should teach us that shit. How does a toilet work? Yeah, it's all pressure and stuff. It's the toilet works by using a siphon. Mexican. It's a little Mexican in there. It's just emptying the water. By using a siphon mechanism to flush waste. When you press the handle, it lifts a flapper, releasing water from the tank into the bowl, which creates suction and pulls down the waste down the drain. Wow. So there's no electricity, so we can keep that. It's not an appliance. It's whatever. So water, plumbing, we keep that. Showers and stuff. All right. I'm gonna take another break and then we'll come back. It's gonna be a long mother fudging episode, ladies and gentlemen. But that's okay. That's what we're here to do. We're right back. Hey, yo, how's it going? Ladies and gentlemen, how's it flowing? Let's keep growing, showing the world that we knowing. Stay patrolling. All right. Angel number, ladies and gentlemen, angel number 0. So, according to astrology.com, in numerology, the number 0 is often referred to as the God number. This is because it represents the beginning of everything, the universe's origins and limitless potential. It also resonates with eternity and the concept of infinity, indicating that things will continue to go on forever. Seeing this number means that you're being reminded of your spiritual essence and the connection you have with the universal life force. Interesting. I need to be more in the middle. Sorry, guys. I think that's better. tinyrituals.co. To fully understand the angel number 000, it helps to first understand what the single digit of 0 means. The angel number 0 also holds those themes of infinity and is linked to everything in this world. But it is also a number that is associated with fresh starts, new beginnings, and blank slates. It's a comforting number that reminds us that we can always turn the page in life and create something new. It's a sign from your angels and ascended masters that if you feel like your life is in limbo, you can move forward. Let go of old habits and ways of thinking and embrace a positive mindset and look to the future with bright and shiny eyes. I want to read that again. It's a sign, so 0, seeing 0. It's a sign from your angels and ascended masters that if you feel like your life is in limbo, Chris, you can move forward and let go of old habits and ways of thinking, embrace a positive mindset, and look to the future with bright and shiny eyes. Very nice. Full of high vibrations and spiritual energy, the angel number 0 is here to show you a world full of potential and to move you closer to enlightenment. Beautiful. Medium.com says, in the context of twin flames, the number 0 symbolizes wholeness and completion. This represents the idea that twin flames are two halves of a whole, embarking on a journey to find and reunite with each other. The circular shape of the number 0 also symbolizes the infinite nature of the twin flame journey, where every end is a new beginning. Infinite potential lies in the union of twin flames, as the number 0 suggests limitless opportunities for growth, learning, and spiritual development. This embodiment of infinity encourages twin flames to explore the depths of their connections, unlocking hidden dimensions of their partnership. Dang, I'm jealous. No, I'm not jealous, but I'm happy for you. If you found your twin flame, flame on. Embracing the vibration of 0 is crucial for personal growth, especially for those on the twin flame journey. The 0 vibration resonates with the concepts of wholeness, eternity, and the starting point of spiritual development. By aligning with this vibration, twin flames can tap into a deeper understanding of their journey's purpose and the lessons they are meant to learn together. Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, now this next segment, spirit animals. I'm going to talk about a particular bird I saw from my backyard, the snowy egret. Now, when I edit it, I'll have to look for a better picture because you probably can't see it, but this is a cool little flyer. Okay, so the light has to be on it. There you go, look at that. The snowy egret. So the snowy egret, as you see, wherever I put the picture, has it's like a great egret, but it's smaller and snowier. Even though it's not snowy, it's just white feathered. And then I guess it can make its feathers go up. So from 88mystic88.com, whether the snowy egret appears in dreams. Now this is beautiful. Okay, so y'all need to go to that 88mystic88.com. Whether the snowy egret appears in dreams, visions, waking life, or synchronicities, it is a sign and message that divine God is getting ready to do miraculous things in the coming times. Where you are going, not everyone can come with you. There will be several people freed from disease/cancer. The just/chosen has been ordered to live by faith. Not everyone is ordained or destined to win the lottery. So there will be people breaking through in business, breaking through in their bloodline. The unexpected blessings will be coming to you. What's ahead outweighs anything you could have or should have won gambling. The snowy egret prophesizes that a time of adversity has ended, that a drought in your business will soon begin to bring forth water. It is also a prophecy that nothing can replace your light. It doesn't matter what innovative app this world comes up with, it will never be able to take away your job. Your kindness, your style, your uniqueness cannot be duplicated. This is also a prophecy for you to stay in the fight. The final round has been commenced, and you're destined to overcome. Your life will be a testimony to the people. Your testimony will minister to millions of people. What you need and who you need it from is coming easily now. The reapers are retracting and the contracts are sealed. You've just changed your future and cleansed your history. Go into prayer and continue to shield, remove, and release. You may wake up in the midnight hour speaking the language of angels. The angels are being loosed for your kids and you also. It is a forewarning to avoid for a couple weeks any activities to do with jumping. Arenas where kids jump around, but you have to sign a waiver of responsibility. Any bungee jumping activity, skydiving, be cautious of it for the next couple weeks. Listen to your intuition and avoid roller coasters that your instincts tell you to stay away from. This is all to avoid head or arm injuries or worse. The angels are looking out for you, but it's a caution to do your part as well. Get rid of unstable furniture in your home before the new year/month. Have patience with young children at this time. It's really stuck out to me. They don't mean half of what they're doing. Besides, they're playing with angels and are feeling high at the moment. This isn't to cause fear, but to let go of what no longer serves your family, even as this message is a prophetic protection. The angels have witnessed you going through so much, and this time, they're 10 steps ahead. Sending messages through prophets, mystics, shamans, readers, etc. The snowy egret is a prophecy of divine protection, divine blessings, empowerment, and you having an easy life. You're walking out of one season and into your best days yet. You're getting ready to have perpetual stability. Something else is about to stabilize. This is in relation to your finances, a business, your health. You have divine angels whispering to you. They will divert accidents, dangerous people, etc. You will receive an unexpected check/offer or both. Something beautiful is happening to your family. Get ready for new modes of transportation, hot off the press. Dream cars, new keys to new homes. Literally, the life you've wanted for years has finally come in. The snowy egret is also prophesying divine marriage, divine partners in business, something the divine promised you years ago is now unfolding. You'll get to experience and maintain a level of luxury and prestige in this chapter of your new life. Congratulations, get ready to fly high. Hope it's true. This message obviously isn't resonant with all those who paths it crosses, as perhaps you may encounter someone of this vernacular, mastery, or skill. Therefore, it is a sign from the universe that you are meant to work with such a person. If this is not you, then it is time to get clear to rejoin your tribe or the rest of the world of infinite beings. It's time you bring your light to the forefront. However, if you aren't able to invoke, heal, or otherwise on your own, call on the assistance of shamans, healers, intuitive people, etc. to assist you. The synchronicity can possibly have specific meanings for you. It's time to get insight. So it really spoke to me a lot, especially the part about, because I work with kids and stuff, and the fact that they're playing with angels and they're feeling high right now. It's pretty interesting. I liked it. Who knows if it's true or not? These are possible spiritual meanings. Now, earlier in the intro, I talked about a dream I had where I was holding a gun. I'm not sure what kind of gun, but it wasn't like an old-timey gun, and it wasn't like a bazooka, so kind of know what it is. But maybe you've had a dream of having a gun. And I don't, I need to... Anyway, spiritualradar.com. Dream, holding a gun. You know what? I'm going to take a break. I'll be right back. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we have returned. And I'm going to talk about the meaning of having a gun in a dream. So I started off, but let me reread what I already read. SpiritualRadar.com. Dream, holding a gun. Interpretation. When you dream about holding a gun, it often signifies a feeling of power or control in your waking life. It can indicate that you're ready to take charge of a situation or assert your authority. Spiritual meaning. On a spiritual level, this dream may suggest that you are becoming aware of your inner strength and ability to overcome challenges. It could be a sign that you're on a path towards personal growth and self-realization. That's the most positive way of looking at it. Dreamspiritual.org says that it could be hidden fears. Guns can be intimidating even for the bravest of us. So it's only natural to feel a sense of fear when such a weapon is directed at you, regardless of who the shooter is. Dreaming of guns can be a sign of feeling threatened or vulnerable. It can be quite a frightening experience. And it is important to remember that it is a normal and natural part of the human experience. It may be a reflection of a current issue in your life that is causing you to feel unsafe or uncomfortable, or it may reflect a past experience that is still lingering in your subconscious mind. It is important to take this time to reflect on the feelings that arise when you have these dreams and to consider what they may be communicating to you about your current life circumstances. Reflecting on what might be causing these feelings will help you focus on ways to bring more peace and security into your life. Perhaps there is something you can do to lessen the intensity of the situation or to feel more in control. Yeah, because so in the dream I was like holding a gun and there was another person who I don't know was, and they were more comfortable with the gun and their finger was closer to the trigger. And mine, I was like making sure that I wasn't touching the trigger because I was like nervous about it. So I don't own a gun. I've never shot a gun. So that's why it's an interesting dream for me. Number 2, it could mean danger. Dreaming about guns or other weapons can be a sign that you need to be cautious in your life. It can be a warning of possible dangers ahead and a reminder to be mindful of your decisions and actions. This could be a literal or figurative danger, like exposure to an unhealthy relationship or environment. If you are having trouble with a coworker or friend, it may be a warning that you must look out for yourself at work. And if you're struggling financially, it may be telling you that you need to make changes to avoid a financial mess. This dream may also be a sign that you are feeling powerless in a certain situation and need to take extra measures to protect yourself. The dream tells you it is a time to stand up for yourself and be assertive to protect your well-being. Now, these could all be, there's morsels from each of these that resonate with me. This dream, I already said that part. So AuntyFlow.com, shout out to Auntie Flow. I know that means getting a period, but it's also a website, AuntyFlo.com, says, what gun did you see in your dreams? Auntie Flow gets into the gangster part of it. You may or may not know the gun used in your dream. There are many different types of guns that can appear in your dream. Each type of gun has a slightly different meaning, and each gun is used for a different purpose. As I have already said, guns can be used for protection, hunting, or even ritualistic purposes, but spiritually, this is about different cultures having different beliefs about targets in your life. I want to share each type of gun's spiritual significance. In some cultures, guns are seen as symbols of power and strength, while in others, they are seen as symbols of peace and protection. We all know that guns have been used for centuries, and their spiritual meanings have changed over time. So I went ahead, and I know my gun that I saw in my dream wasn't a shotgun or a rifle, but I wanted to, just in case you had that kind of dream. So if you saw a pistol, I am sure you know that a pistol is a small handheld gun. It is typically used for self-defense or as a secondary weapon. Pistols are often seen as symbols of power and strength in dreams. If you hold a pistol, it is spiritually about the little steps in life. So I'm not sure if mine was a pistol or not. It may have felt a little bigger. A rifle. As the rifle is a long-barreled gun that is fired from the shoulder, it is about taking the time to learn your goals in dreams. Rifles are often used for hunting or warfare. Ask yourself, what are you hunting? What do you want to gain in life? Okay, what if you saw a shotgun? The shotgun is a large handheld gun that fires a spray of pellets. Shotguns are, again, as I have said before, used for hunting or self-defense. They are seen as symbols of peace and protection in many different cultures, and the dream of a shotgun can mean peace might enter your life in the coming weeks. A machine gun. Kelly. This rapid-firing, large-caliber gun appears in dreams when things seem crazy. Machine guns are typically used in warfare. They are seen as symbols of quick action in order to meet the targets that you set in life. I don't know if mine was a machine gun. Or maybe. Toy guns in your dreams. Toy guns may symbolize feeling of powerlessness or childhood innocence if you dream of the toy gun. This dream could also represent a repressed anger or aggression from what I feel is childhood experiences. In other words, the dream could be a metaphor for putting your ideas and plans into action. A toy gun pointing at you in a dream could represent feeling threatened or helpless. In your dream, you may also see a toy gun as a sign that you are not taking things or taking something seriously enough. Other guns. A number of interpretations can be made of the dream meaning of seeing other types of guns that have not been listed here. To live a healthy and happy life, we must balance the different aspects of our personalities. Some machine guns, for instance, represent our more extroverted side, whereas sniper rifles represent our more introspective sides. Imagine that's all you dream about is guns. That's got to be something else. Our more aggressive side is represented by the assault rifle, while our more passive side is represented by the AK-47. Our ability to take action in the world and make things happen is embodied by lever action rifles. We all deal with different aspects of the human condition at some point. For example, the sniper rifle represents death, while the submachine gun represents life. The assault rifle represents war, while the 47 represents peace. And finally, wait, I already said that one. Sorry. No matter how you interpret the spiritual meaning of these guns, one thing is for sure, they all represent a part of who we are and what we need to do in order to live a fulfilling and happy life. Take all this with a grain of salt. So next time you see one of the guns in your dreams, take a moment to think about what it represents and how you can use its energy to help you achieve. What does it mean to dream of holding a gun? So who is holding a gun? You or someone else? I believe a dream of you holding a gun can represent feelings of power, aggression, or control. In addition, it can indicate the need for security or protection. It may also indicate that you are feeling threatened or vulnerable in some way. You may be having a dream about an armed situation or issue in your life. Seeing someone else holding a gun indicates that you may deal with someone that is powerful, aggressive, or in control. Security or protection may also be indicated. A similar dream may indicate some form of vulnerability or threat, and I feel that holding a gun is about holding your goals in your own hands. That is a great dream to have. You're holding the mechanism to change for the better. So Ani Flo sounds like she's pro-gun, which I don't think that's what she means. You know, she's just looking on the positive side. And this is for people who don't really know much about guns, so she's just saying what they could represent. That's why some of it did resonate with me when I was doing the research and going through it. So I don't know. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back with news, anxiety news. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Anxiety News with Christopher Chaos. This week, we'll talk about spring anxiety. This is from MSN.com, from Carolyn L. Todd. And I have to agree with you, Carolyn L. Todd. I think I have it. I think I have springtime anxiety. So let's see what she has to say about it. What it is, how to handle it. All right, so come the first signs of spring every year, I'm hit, this is Carolyn, with a strange sense of unease. And I've been feeling it this year too. I wake up irritable, unsettled, restless but tired. It's like I've been startled awake from hibernation too early. The cozy blanket of winter unceremoniously ripped off, the world shouting, "Wake up! It's spring!" While everyone runs around chirping about the birds and the flowers, I'm left a little ashamed, wondering why I feel so off when I should be psyched. But it turns out I'm not the only one who gets thrown off come early spring. Struggling to adjust around this time of year is pretty common. John Sharp, MD, a psychiatrist and professor at Harvard Medical School, and author of The Emotional Calendar, Understanding Seasonal Influences and Milestones to Become Happier, More Fulfilled, and in Control of Your Life, tells Self, SELF, I don't know what Self is. Guess it's a magazine or something. And it's almost entirely overlooked. The truth is, many of us experience a mismatch between how we expect to feel and how we actually do. The coming of spring is forecast as a joyous event, and yet the transition in the early spring is not joyous for a lot of people. Dr. Sharp says, it's complicated. So if you can relate, you're far from alone. I talked to experts about why some of us get anxious in the spring, how to know if it's normal seasonal turbulence or something more serious, and what to do about it. Why we get anxious in the spring. If you're restless or anxious this time of year, there could be a few different things going on. The stress of change on your mind and body. Change is psychologically stressful, and the seasons are no exception. The transition can be especially rocky if you're someone who hates endings. So long, winter, or runs more anxious. People who are predisposed to anxiety often react poorly to change and struggle with transitions, even if the change may be positive. Terry Bacow, PhD clinical instructor at the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai, adjunct instructor at the New York University Department of Applied Psychology, and author of Goodbye Anxiety, a guided journal for overcoming worry, tells Self. You might feel overwhelmed, like you're being dragged into spring before you're ready, or you might buzz with the restive energy that you don't know what to do with, Dr. Sharp says. Pardon me, the allergies. There are also real biological changes that can contribute to you generally feeling off. If you live somewhere that observes daylight savings time, the time change can be surprisingly disorienting, Dr. Sharp says. Even though having an extra hour of light in the evening may be lovely, it's still a shift in your circadian rhythm, or your body's internal clock, that your brain and body have to adjust to. Some people are extra sensitive to light, Dr. Bacow says, so the longer days can impact their mood and sleep. Remember earlier when I was doing the random questions, and if humans had warning labels, mine would say extra sensitive. One of the things said it'd be light. Maybe yeah, whatever. All right, number 2, weather fluctuations. It depends on where you live, but the chaotic weather of early to mid-spring can be pretty discombobulating, Dr. Sharp says. It's 60 degrees and sunny one day, then drizzly and freezing the next. It's dizzying, Dr. Sharp says. Some of us struggle more with that whiplash and unpredictability. Once it starts to be reliably nicer out, the warmer weather can also make some people feel, well, not so hot. One study using 5 years of survey data on 1.9 million U.S. adults found that increasing temperatures significantly reduce well-being. Temperatures above 70 degrees Fahrenheit were often found to decrease positive emotions like joy and increase things like stress, anger, and fatigue compared to temps in the 50 to 60 degree. The temperature to be more social, the pressure, number 3, moving on from weather fluctuations. The pressure to be more active and social. Some of us truly enjoy the quiet, cozy solitude of winter. It is not uncommon for people to prefer the slower, more relaxed pace of the winter months, especially if you're an Aquarius like myself, who was born in the winter months. When the pressure is entirely off, Dr. Bacow says. So you might get a little bummed when that cold weather cocoon starts to dissolve. This goes double if you're attaching a bunch of shoulds to the extra daylight and warmer weather. as in it's nice out, so I should be going outside. You might beat yourself up for saying holding up on the couch with a book and going to bed early instead of taking full advantage of the longer, warmer days. Some people also experience pressure to be more productive, Dr. Bacow says. Starting new projects of spring cleaning, all that pressure can definitely contribute to stress, anxiety, and depression, Dr. Bacow says. Number 4, allergies. Fuck them allergies. Along with causing sneezing and itchy eyes, spring allergies might affect your mental health. Allergic reactions trigger an inflammatory response in the body, Dr. Sharp explains. And there's a growing body of research correlating inflammation with depression and anxiety. In one study, people who had a lower mood in the summer, or summer SAD, SAD, reported being in worse mood on high pollen days, obviously. People who didn't experience summertime mood shifts didn't seem to be affected by pollen counts. Number 5, seasonal affective disorder, or SAD. You might also be dealing with reverse SAD, or seasonal affective disorder, a type of depression tied to the seasons. While SAD usually comes on in fall or winter, some people's symptoms creep up in the spring or summer instead, Dr. Sharp says. And reverse SAD can read a lot like anxiety. Symptoms specific to spring and summer SAD can include agitation, anxiety, irritability, insomnia, and loss of appetite. Dr. Bacow says, other telltale signs are feeling on edge or moody all the time, and impaired frustration tolerance. Dr. Sharp says, example, the person in front of you at the coffee shop is taking forever, and you can barely keep yourself from yelling, hurry it up at them. Everybody's mood varies, and having variability is okay, Dr. Sharp says. But if you're anxious or depressed for more than a couple weeks and it's interfering with your ability to function, Dr. Sharp recommends seeing your primary care doctor or a mental health professional to see if you're dealing with SAD. How to deal with spring anxiety. The spring transition might never be your favorite time of year, and that's okay. But thankfully, it also doesn't have to totally suck. Here are some tips for actually managing your springtime stress and anxiousness. Number 1, expect it. Facing a seasonal shift in your mood is much easier when you see it coming, Dr. Sharp explains. The trick is to get your own forecast of what's going to happen to you based on what's happened in the past. Look back on previous years and see if there's a pattern. You can also ask people who know you well, like your family or roommates, if they've noticed certain mood or behavior changes in you around this time, Dr. Sharp says. That way, when you do start feeling crabby or anxious, you know nothing's gone wrong. It's just part of your cycle, and you can prepare for it. Number 2, have a plan. Be proactive about weathering and welcoming the change in season. It's better to be in the driver's seat, Dr. Sharp says. He recommends making a plan that includes some form of self-care you enjoy. For instance, you might commit to getting a walk in every morning, double up on therapy for a month, or pencil in fun activities every weekend. Pretty much everyone can benefit from reprioritizing the basics, like getting plenty of nutritious food, hydration, movement, and solid shut-eye, Dr. Sharp adds. And if you have spring allergies, stock up on non-drowsy antihistamines you can start taking when symptoms come on and see your doctor. Another element Dr. Sharp advises, included in your plan, is hanging out with friends. Since that's a pretty good, reliable mood booster. You can spend some time in public places where people are leaning into and enjoying spring, Dr. Sharp says, like the park. It can be infectious. On the other hand, if that makes things worse, that's another sign you might be dealing with SAD, Dr. Sharp adds. Number 3, take it slow. Don't expect yourself to be gleefully leap into spring at the first sign of sunshine and birds. It can be helpful to let yourself gradually ease out of your winter hibernation instead of pressuring yourself to switch into being more active and social overnight, Dr. Bacow says. Pace yourself and take the time you need to adjust. Interesting, because the hard part is socializing at work. I have to socialize a lot with hundreds of people. Number 4, make a ritual. Spring holidays and celebrations can help us mark and process the passage of winter into spring. We have these gatherings that humans create meaning around that help us with this transition. Dr. Sharp says there's Easter, Passover, Holi, the colorful Hindu festival, the spring equinox, and in Switzerland, Sechlechtlauten, where they burn a giant snowman effigy. If you don't usually celebrate spring holidays, ask a friend or family member who does if you can join the festivities, Dr. Sharp says, or create your own ritual. Host a Hello Spring dinner with friends. Make a flower crown. Journal on what you'll miss about winter and what you're going to look forward to in spring or summer. Hell, swap out your broody winter playlist for one with fresh tunes. Numero 5. Get support. If this time of year is especially tough for you, definitely seek support from mental health professionals. Dr. Sharp says, especially if you're experiencing any of the symptoms of SAD we talked about, there's no reason to struggle alone. One parting tip from a fellow springtime sufferer, remind yourself it's not going to last forever. That's kind of the whole deal with seasons, come to think of it. It'll be summer, then fall, then winter before you know it. Amen to that. And I like spring, but it is hard to go back to work after winter. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, so you're not alone. That's our anxiety news for this week, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Please come again. Let's all go to the movie. Oh, wait, I need to wear my movie.
Drop it to the flow. Drop it to the flow. Bring it back up slow. Bring it back up slow. Make that booty roll. Make that booty roll. Throw your back out, girl. Throw your back out, girl.
Hopefully, very soon. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Movie Review on the Friday Podcast. So I saw this movie on YouTube. It was a little censored, but it was still pretty crazy. Once Upon a Time in America. It's a 1984 epic crime film co-written and directed by Italian filmmaker Sergio Leone and starring Robert De Niro and James Woods. Incredible acting. The film is an Italian-American venture produced by the Ladd Company, Embassy International Pictures, PSO Enterprises, and Rafran Cinematografica, and distributed by Warner Bros. It was based on Harry Gray's novel, The Hoods. It chronicles the lives of best friends David Noodles Aronson and Maximilian Max Berkovich as they lead a group of Jewish ghetto youths who rise to prominence as Jewish gangsters in New York City's world of organized crime. The film explores themes of childhood friendships, love, lust, greed, betrayal, loss, and broken relationships, together with the rise of mobsters in American society. It's interesting. I didn't know it was an Italian film about Jewish kids. It was the final film directed by Leone before his death 5 years later, and the first feature film he had directed in 13 years. It is also the third installment of Leone's Once Upon a Time trilogy. I didn't know that either. Which includes Once Upon a Time in the West, which came out in 1968, and Duck, You Sucker, which came out in 1971. The cinematography was by Tonini Deli Colli and the film score by Ennio Morricone. Leone originally envisaged 2 3-hour films, then a single 269-minute, which is 4 hours and 29 minutes, version. Which is crazy. That's like bigger than Endgame. But he was convinced by distributors to shorten it to 3 hours and 49 minutes. Damn, even that's pretty long. The American distributors, the Ladd Company, further shortened it to 2 hours and 19 minutes. and rearranged the scenes into chronological order without Leone's involvement. Whoa. Controversy. The U.S. edit was a critical and commercial flop in the United States, and critics who have seen both versions harshly condemn the changes made. The original European cut has remained a critical favorite and frequently appears in lists of the greatest films of all time, especially in the gangster genre. So I guess I saw the American version. Obviously, right? So the plot. In the 1930s, three thugs search for a man named Noodles. Noodles is drugging himself in an opium den with a newspaper next to him featuring the death of bootleggers Patrick Goldberg, Philip Stein, and Maximilian Berkovich. He recalls the police removing their corpses, one burnt beyond recognition. Noodles evades capture and leaves the city. In 1918, David Noodles Aronson leads a gang of him and his three friends, Patsy Goldberg, Kakai Stein, and Dominic, performing jobs for local gangster Bugsy. They meet Max as he foils one of their robberies, but has the booty stolen from him by corrupt police officer Whitey. Max joins their gang and they later blackmail Whitey and get the same police protection as Bugsy. The gang becomes a successful the gang becomes successful liquor smugglers. They deposit their earnings in a locker, giving the key to a friend of theirs, Mo. Noodles is in love with Mo's sister, Deborah, who dreams of becoming a dancer. Due to his socialization as a gangster, Deborah sees no future for their love. Bugsy, now a rival, ambushes the gang and fatally shoots Dominic. Noodles kills Bugsy and is sentenced to prison. Upon his release a decade later, Noodles rejoins the gang. During the diamond heist, they use jewelry employee Carol as their informant. She goads Noodles into hitting her, after which he rapes her. That's, there's a couple rapes in this movie, which is pretty tough. But I think that's what makes it so realistic. She goads Noodles into hitting her, after which he rapes her. She later became Max's girlfriend. Noodles realizes that the heist was commissioned by a syndicate figure to eliminate competition. This leads to tension between Max and Noodles, who seeks independence. The gang provides protection for Teamsters Union boss O'Donnell, during the course of which they exchange newborns at a clinic, punishing the head of the police whose wife has just given birth to a boy at that clinic. The results in the police withdrawing their actions against striking workers. Noodles takes Deborah on a lavish date. When she reveals her plans to pursue a career in Hollywood, he snaps and rapes her. As she departs the next day, he attempts to catch a glimpse of her sitting on the train, but she avoids eye contact. It's crazy because he didn't know how to, it was like he was emotionally stunted. And the fact that he was able to do that and get away with it once, he was able to do it again. Sorry, I need to blow my nose, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, pretty crazy. And they don't show it, but they just show like the struggle, at least on the YouTube version. The repeal of prohibition forces the gang to look for alternate activities. Max suggests a New York Federal Reserve bank heist, which Noodles and Carol deem too risky. Carol convinces Noodles to inform the police about a lesser offense, hoping brief incarceration will cool off Max's ambition. After Noodles calls the police, Max knocks him out. Upon regaining consciousness, Noodles learns that Max, Patsy, and Kakai have been killed by the police during the heist, as established at the beginning of the film. A guilt-ridden Noodles hides in the opium den. During his subsequent escape, he realizes the locker money has disappeared. Now in the 60s, Noodles returns to Manhattan for the first time since the 30s, after receiving a letter indicating that his identity has been uncovered, seeking to find out who was responsible. He learns that the bodies of the three friends have been relocated to Riverdale. He visits their mausoleum in Riverdale and finds a key to a railway locker. The locker reveals a suitcase full of money, stated to be the advance on his next job. Noodles learns of the corruption scandals around Senator Christopher Bailey and visits Carol in a retirement home run by the Bailey Foundation. She tells him that Max manipulated them into tipping him off to the police and that Max opened fire first, wishing to die young. Noodles spots Deborah in a memorial photograph, who has become a major actress, and starts to suspect the connection between Deborah and Bailey. He tracks down Deborah and visits her, telling her about his invitation to a party at Bailey's mansion and challenging her to tell him about the mysterious job as well as the identity of Bailey. Deborah admits to being Bailey's lover and begs Noodles to leave the city before facing hurtful revelations. Ignoring her advice, Noodles leaves her after seeing Bailey's son, who looks like the young Max. Noodles meets Bailey, who turns out to be Max. Having faked his death, Max stole the gang's money and reinvented himself as a self-made businessman. He also made Deborah his mistress, thus robbing Noodles of everything he had. Faced with ruin due to the corruption scandal, Max reveals that he is behind the mysterious job, which is for Noodles to kill him. Noodles refuses. As Noodles leaves the estate, the garbage truck passes and a man, presumably Max, walks towards Noodles until the truck passes between them. Noodles sees the truck's auger conveyor grinding garbage, but the man is nowhere to be seen. Interesting. So it's been a while since I saw it, but yeah, it was trippy. So interpretations. As the film begins and ends in 1933, with Noodles hiding in an opium den from syndicate hitmen, and the last shot of the film is of Noodles in a smiling, opium-soaked high, the film can be interpreted as having been a drug-induced dream, with Noodles remembering his past and envisioning the future. In an interview by Noel Simsolo, published in '87, Leon lent support to this interpretation, saying that the scene set in the 60s could be seen as an opium dream of Noodles. In the DVD commentary for the film historian and critic Richard Schickel states that opium users often report vivid dreams, and that these versions have a tendency to explore the user's past and future. Interesting. The ending, in which Max is seen by Noodles outside Bailey's mansion only to disappear behind a truck as it passes, was reportedly left ambiguous on purpose. James Woods, who played Max, stated that he does not know if Max jumped in the truck or just disappeared. Critic Carlo Affatigato described the twist as a paradox, postulating that the whole film is about how Noodles spends the second half of his life seeking out the truth of what happened, only to discover it, not accept it, and not investigate what happens to Max in the end. Noodles only wants to believe the reality he has created for himself, not an objective one. Affatigato also believes that this could point to it all being in the imagination of Noodles. Many people, including Schnicknell, assume that the 1968 Frisbee scene, which has an immediate cut and gives no further resolution, was part of a longer sequence. Ebert stated that the purpose of the flying disc scene was to establish the 1960s time frame and nothing more. Interesting. So yeah, this is back when De Niro was still a cool guy in Hollywood, in my opinion. Let's see. So the production. During the mid-'60s, Sergio Leone had read the novel The Hoods by Harry Gray, a pseudonym for the former gangster-turned-informant whose real name was Harry Goldberg. In '68, after shooting Once Upon a Time in the West, Leone made many efforts to talk to Gray. Having enjoyed Leone's Dollars trilogy, Gray finally responded and agreed to meet with Leone at a Manhattan bar. Following that initial meeting, Leone met with Gray several times throughout the remainder of the 60s and 70s, having discussions with him to understand America through Gray's point of view. Intent on making another trilogy about America consisting of Once Upon a Time in the West, Duck, You Sucker, and Once Upon a Time in America, Leone turned down an offer from Paramount Pictures to direct The Godfather in order to pursue his pet project. Interesting. What would The Godfather have been like if Sergio Leone directed it? At some point, Leone considered other colleagues, including Milos Forman and John Milius, for the role of director, with him just serving as producer. For some time, the project was linked to French producers André Genevois and Gerard Lebovici, and later to Gaumont, with Gerard Depardieu and John Gabin supposed to be main actors. Acquiring the rights of the novel proved to be complicated, as they had been bought by Dan Curtis, who intended to shoot the film and refused various offers by Leone and his backers to sell the rights. Curtis eventually transferred the rights to Alberto Grimaldi in exchange for Grimaldi's production of his $2 million film Burnt Offerings. Initially, only a draft for the film's opening scene was made, penned by Ernesto Gastaldi, and developed by Robert Dylan, which Dylan eventually used in John Frankenheimer's film 99 and 44 out of 100% Dead, much to Leone's dismay. After Grimaldi bought the rights, he felt that he needed an American scriptwriter to faithfully capture the spirit of the novel. He eventually made a deal with Norman Mailer, whose draft greatly disappointed both Grimaldi and Leone, who later described Mailer's draft as a Mickey Mouse version of the novel that lacked in structure and made no sense at all. A few elements of Norman Mailer's first two drafts would eventually appear in the film. After Mailer's fiasco, Leone opted for an all-Italian team of scriptwriters. Leonardo Benvenuti and Piero Leonardi would focus on the 1920s section, Enrico Medioli on the 30s, and Franco Kim Arcali on the time shifts, with Leone supervising and Franco Ferrini polishing the script. As of 1975 to 76, Leone's casting ideas still included Depardieu and Gabin, as well as Richard Dreyfuss as Max, James Cagney, Robert Charlie Bois, and appearances by Henry Fonda, James Stewart, George Rapp, and Glenn Ford. In 76, Ennio Morricone had already composed all the main themes for the film. In the meanwhile, relations between Grimaldi and Leone soured, with Grimaldi unconvinced of the film's commercial viability and eventually exiting the project, being replaced in 1980 by Arnon Milchan. At this stage, Leone's casting ideas included Tom Berenger, Dustin Hoffman, Paul Newman, and Liza Minnelli. A 317-page shooting script was completed in late 1981. The final script, translated in English by Stuart M. Kaminsky, was approved by Leone in May of 1982. So I guess it was written in Italian. Interesting. Pardon me, ladies and gentlemen. I just woke up. I didn't finish the podcast last night. I'm finishing in the morning. All right, so in 81, at Milchan's suggestion, Leone met Robert De Niro and eventually offered him a role of his choice between Noodles and Max. De Niro's commitment turned out to be crucial for Milchan securing the financial backing for the film. So probably if it wasn't for De Niro, the movie might not have get made, is what they're saying. For the role of Max, eventually played by James Wood, about 200 actors were auditioned. Elizabeth McGovern was chosen for the role of Deborah against De Niro's request for having a New York native with a Brooklyn accent, due to Leone's appreciation of her performance in Ragtime. Oh yeah, Joe Pesci was in it. Joe Pesci was chosen by Arnon Milchan because of his role in Raging Bull, and was offered a supporting role of his choice. Tuesday Weld was cast as Carol, a role that Leone had previously envisioned for Claudia Cardinale at De Niro's recommendation. For the children's roles, Leone entrusted the task to Sis Corman and asked him to not have child stars and instead to have actors who had lived in New York's Jewish neighborhood and had no previous acting experience. In the end, Corman provided mostly actors without film credits, but with experiences on stage and on television. Smart. So the filming started in 82 and eventually ended in April of the next year. The locations where the shooting took place were in and around US, Canada, Italy, and France, with the focal point in New York City. Interior scenes were mostly filmed at the Cinecittà Studios in Rome. The beach scene, where Max unveils his plan to rob the Federal Reserve, was shot at the Don Caesar in St. Beach, Florida. The New York's Railway Grand Central Station scene in the 30s flashbacks were filmed in the Gare du Nord in Paris. The interiors of the lavish restaurants where Noodles takes Deborah on their first date were shot in the Hotel Excelsior in Venice, Italy. Shooting in New York proved to be difficult as the IATSE labor union raised a strong controversy over Leone's use of a foreign crew and launched such a massive public protest campaign that President Ronald Reagan called for a Department of Labor investigations into the matter. De Niro shot his scenes in chronological continuity. His makeup as an old man required 4 to 6 hours of preparation. After a few weeks, Nilo Jacoponi, Manilo Rochetti, and Gino Zamprioli replaced Christopher Tucker, whose makeup was considered excessive and unrealistic by Leone. So they had to make Robert De Niro older with makeup. And now, in The Irishman, they made him younger. I'm sure they used some makeup, but it was mainly CGI. All right, so editing. By the end of the filming, Leone had 10 hours worth of footage. With his that could have been like a Netflix series today. With his editor, Nino Baragli, Leone trimmed this to almost 6 hours, and he originally wanted to release the film in 2 parts. The producers refused, partly because of the commercial and critical failure of Bernardo Bertolucci's 2-part 1900, and Leone was forced to further shorten it. The film was originally 269 minutes, which was 4 hours and 29 minutes, but then when the film premiered out of competition at the 1984 Cannes Film Festival, Leone had cut it to 229 minutes, which is 3 hours and 49 minutes, almost 4 hours, baby, to appease the distributors, which was the version shown in European cinemas. So the Europeans got the best version. That's the one I need to watch. So let's see the music. The musical score was composed by Leone's longtime collaborator, Ennio Morricone. Deborah's theme was written for a Franco Zeffirelli film, but was rejected. The score is also notable for Morricone's incorporation of the music of George Zamfir, who plays a pan flute. Zamfir's flute music was used to similar effect in Peter Well's Picnic at Hanging Rock, which came out in '75. Morricone also collaborated with vocalist Eda Del Orso on the score. Besides the original music, the film used source music, including God Bless America, performed by Kate Smith in 1943, plays over the opening credits from a radio in Eve's bedroom and briefly at the film's ending. Yesterday, which was written by Lennon McCartney in 1965, a Muzak version of this piece plays when Noodles first returns to New York in '68, examining himself as in a train station mirror. An instrumental version of the song also plays briefly during the dialogue scene between Noodles and Bailey towards the end of the film. Summertime, written by George Gershwin in 1935, an instrumental version of the aria from the opera Porgy and Bess, is playing softly in the background as Noodles, just before leaving, explains to Secretary Bailey why he could never kill his friend. Amapola, which was written by Joseph LeCow, but the American lyrics were by Albert Gamsey from 1923. Originally an opera piece, several instrumental versions of the song were played during the film. A jazzy version, which was played on the gramophone, danced to by Young Deborah in 1918, a similar version played by Fat Joe's Jazz Band in the Speakeasy in 1930, and a string version during Noodles' date with Deborah. Both versions are available on the soundtrack. Part of the third theme from the overture to La Gazza Iadra from Gioacchino Rossini from 1817, used during the baby switching scene in the hospital. Night and Day, written by... See, these are all the things that when you put a movie together, you got to find songs and music and actors, and it's like so much to put together. And I would love to make a movie one day, but it probably takes years off of you for sure.
Night and Day, written and sung by Cole Porter, which came out in 1932, played by a jazz band during the beach scene before the beachgoers received word of Prohibition's repeal, and during the party at the house of Secretary Bailey in 1968. St. James Infirmary Blues is used during the Prohibition funeral at the gang's speakeasy. A soundtrack album was released in 1984 by Mercury Records. That must have been a big-ass deal whenever Prohibition was over and people were throwing funerals for Prohibition, like just getting shit-faced. It was probably amazing. Alright, so the release premiered in 1984 on May 20th, received a 15-minute standing ovation after the screening. However, in the United States, a heavily edited version of the film received a wide release in 894 theaters on June 1st, 1984, and grossed $2.4 million during its opening weekend. It ended its box office run with a gross of just over $5.3 million on a $30 million budget and became a box office bomb. Numerous women at the film's premiere reacted furiously, mostly due to the two rape sequences. One among them later confronted Robert De Niro in a press conference and made harsh comments to the film's depiction, describing it as blatant, gratuitous violence. In general, the rape scenes were controversial. Richard Godin defended Leone's representation of rape, saying that it articulates the dysfunction between bodies and images and bodies themselves. Of the scene in which De Niro character rapes her character, Elizabeth McGovern said, "It didn't glamorize violent sex. It is extremely uncomfortable to watch, and it is meant to be." She went on to state, "And if you say this violence is wrong, you'd have to enlarge that to say all violence in movies is wrong. And then you'd have to say you can only make movies about good people who obey the law and do the right thing, which A, excludes a lot of what life is, and B, makes for some very boring movies." In his book, Leone scholar Christopher Frayling argues that the movie's central gang are all emotionally stunted. This is what I was saying earlier. Like small boys obsessed with their equipment who have no idea how to relate to flesh and blood women. So there's a couple versions. And the bomb, the one that we got, it was in limited release and for film critics in North America, which it was slightly trimmed to secure an R rating. Cuts were made to 2 rape scenes and some of the more graphic violence at the beginning. Noodles' meeting with Bailey in 1968 was also excised. The film gained a mediocre reception at several sneak premieres in North America because of this early audience reaction. The fear of its length, its graphic violence, and the inability of theaters to have multiple showings in one day, the Ladd Company cut entire scenes and removed approximately 90 minutes of the film without the supervision of Sergio Leone. I would have been pissed if I was him. And they fucked it up. This American-wide release from 1984, 139 minutes, was drastically different from the European release, as the non-chronological story was rearranged into chronological order. Other major cuts involve many of the childhood sequences, making the adult 1933 sections more prominent. Noodles' 1968 meeting with Deborah was excised, and the scene with Bailey ends with him shooting himself, with the sound of a gunshot off screen, rather than the garbage truck conclusion of the 229-minute version. Sergio Leone's daughter, Rafaela Leone, said that Leone had dismissed the U.S. version as not his own movie. In the Soviet Union, the film was shown theatrically in the late 80s with other Hollywood blockbusters such as the 2 King Kong films. The story was rearranged in chronological order and the film was split in 2, with 2 parts shown as separate movies, one containing the childhood scenes and the other comprising the adulthood scenes. Despite the rearranging, no major scene deletions were made. It's an interesting way to do it. At least they didn't cut out parts. Restored original. In March of 2011, it was announced that Leone's original 269-minute version was to be recreated by a film lab in Italy under the supervision of Leone's children, who had acquired the Italian distribution rights, and the film's original sound editor, Fausto Enchile for a premiere in 2012 at either the Cannes Film Festival or Venice Film Festival. The restored film premiered at the 2012 Cannes Film Festival, but because of unforeseen rights issues for the deleted scenes, the restoration had a runtime of only 251 minutes. However, Martin Scorsese, whose Film Foundation helped with the restoration, stated that he was helping Leone's children gain the rights to the final 24 minutes of deleted scenes to create a complete restoration of Leone's envisaged 269-minute version. On August 3rd, 2012, it was reported that after the premiere at the Cannes, the restored film was pulled from circulation pending further restoration work. I can tell you why, but I'm not going to tell you why. This is an interesting movie and why they probably won't want to restore it. People in charge. Home media. In North America, a 2-tape VHS was released by Warner Home Video with a runtime of 226 minutes in February of 85 and 91. The U.S. theatrical cut was also released at the same time in February of 85. A 2-disc special edition was released on June 10th of 03, featuring the 229-minute version of the film. This special edition was re-released on January 11, 2011 on both DVD and Blu-ray. On September 30th of 2014, Warner Bros. Released a 2-disc Blu-ray and DVD set of the 251, sorry, I'm dyslexic this morning, and I'm wearing the wrong glasses, restoration shown at the 2012 Cannes Film Festival, dubbed the Extended Director's Cut. This version was previously released in Italy on September 4th in 2012. All right, so the initial response was mixed because of different versions worldwide. While internationally the film was well received in its original form, American critics were much more dissatisfied with the 139-minute version released in North America. This condensed version was a critical and financial disaster, and many American critics who knew of Leone's original cut attacked the court version. Some critics compared shortening the film to shortening Richard Wagner's operas, saying that works of art that are meant to be long should be given the respect, that they deserve. Pardon me, Leone, no disrespect. In 1984, Roger Ebert gave the uncut version 4 stars out of 4 and wrote that it was an epic poem of violence and greed, but described the American theatrical version as a travesty. Furthermore, he gave the American theatrical version 1 star out of 4, calling it an incomprehensible mess without texture, timing, mood, or sense. Ebert's television film critic partner Gene Siskel considered the uncut version to be the best film of the 84 and the shortened linear studio version the worst of 84. Vincent Canby of New York Times criticized the nonlinear narrative that is structured throughout the film. It was only after Leone's death and the subsequent restoration of the original version that critics began to give it the kind of praise it displayed at its original Cannes showing. The uncut original film is considered to be far superior to the edited version released in the US in 1984. Ebert, in his review of Brian De Palma's The Untouchables, called the original uncut version of Once Upon a Time in America the best film depicting the Prohibition era. James Woods, who considers it to be Leone's finest film, mentioned in the DVD documentary that one critic dubbed the film the worst of 84, only to see the original cut years later and call it the best film of the 80s. Some were critical towards the movie's graphic violence and cruelty, with Donald Clark of the Irish Times condemning it as a fistful of misogyny and offensively sexist. On the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, Once Upon a Time in America has an approval rating of 86% based on 56 reviews, with an average score of 8.6 out of 10. The website's critic consensus reads, Sergio Leone's epic crime drama is visually stunning, stylistically bold, and emotionally haunting, and filled with great performances from the likes of Robert De Niro and James Woods. On Metacritic, the film has a weighted average score of 75 out of 100 based on reviews from 20 critics indicating generally favorable reviews. The film has been ranked as one of the best films of the gangster genre, and Empire magazine critic Adam Smith compared the film favorably to The Godfather, saying Leone's film is arguably the better of the two, if the less popular, eschewing, as it does, the soapy melodramatics of Coppola's family saga in favor of less audience-friendly, but more intriguing ambiguity and symbolism. I see what he's saying there, because some people think, because Goodfellas, okay, so Godfather is like what the Mafia wanted us to see. Goodfellas was more of what it actually was, as is this one right here. When Sight and Sound asked several UK critics in 2002 what their favorite film of the last 25 years were, Once Upon a Time in America placed it number 10. In 2015, the film was ranked at number 9 on Time Out's list of the 50 best gangster films of all time, while in 2021, The Guardian cited it as the 4th greatest mobster film ever made. In 2023, the AV Club ranked it 7th in its list of the greatest gangster movies of all time. So it got accolades, it's got some awards, British Academy Awards, Golden Globe, Japan Academy Film Prize, Los Angeles Film Critics. Yo, I don't know. I feel dumb now because I don't know which version I watched. It was probably the US version, but even that version was pretty dope. So I bet the other one is incredibly dope. And that's just because back then people were used to real good films. Now we get shit like Snakes on a Plane. No offense, Samuel Jackson, but we got different kinds of films now. So even a fucked up version of Once Upon a Time in America is better than a fully thought out Pacific Rim type movie. You know what I mean? All right, we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Let's all go to the movie. Hopefully they don't sue me. All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Badass Women in History. Today we're going to talk about Tulsi Gabbard. I want to see what the hype is about. Let's see. She's an American politician and military officer serving since 2025. As the 8th Director of National Intelligence, she has held the rank of Lieutenant Colonel in the U.S. Army Reserve since 2021. Sorry, I can't do the accent, guys. It's going to be tough. Let me take this off, too. I was trying to do a character, but it's a lot of work. She's been in the news a lot lately, and I want to know what made her so... Because I think she's a badass, you know? Being so outspoken when the majority of the media and everybody wants you to say certain things, and she's like, no. So she's a former she previously served as U.S. Representative for Hawaii's 2nd Congressional District from 2013 to 2021. She was a former Democrat. She joined the Republican Party in 2024. Gabbard was the youngest state legislator in Hawaii from 2002 to 2004. Wow. She joined the Hawaii Army National Guard in 2003 and was deployed to Iraq from 2004 to 2005, where she served as a specialist with the medical unit and received the Combat Medical Badge. So what's the Combat Medical Badge? I want to see what that is. It's an award of the U.S. Army, which was created so anybody who's engaged in combat or provide. So the Combat Medical Badge is an award of the United States Army, which was created in January 1945. Any member of the Army Medical Department at the rank of colonel or below who is assigned or attached to a ground combat arms unit or brigade or smaller size, which provides medical support during any period in which the unit was engaged in ground combat, is eligible for a Combat Medical Badge. According to the award criterion, the individual must be performing medical duties while simultaneously being engaged by the enemy. Strict adhere to this requirement and its interpretation. Wow. All right, so she has that. In 2007, my graduation year, Gabbard completed the officer training program at the Alabama Military
Academy. She went to Kuwait in 08. Damn. She went to Kuwait in 08 as an Army military police officer. What's an Army military police officer? Is the uniformed law enforcement branch of the United States Army. Investigations are conducted by military police, investigators under the Provost Marshal General's Office, or special agents of the Department of the Army. Wow. In 2015, while also serving in Congress, Gabbard became a major with the Hawaii Army National Guard. In 2020, she transferred to the U.S. Army Reserve and was promoted to the rank of Lieutenant Colonel in 2021. I'm sure I'm not doing it right. In 2012, Gabbard was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives from Hawaii's 2nd Congressional District. She became the first Samoan American, so she's Samoan, so she is from Hawaii, and Hindu American of U.S. Congress. Wow. Why she should have so much fandom. There should be a doll for her, like a Barbie or something. Like the way that everybody loves AOC, that's how they should love Tulsi Gabbard, because this is a real American hero. Let's see. During her tenure in Congress, she served on the House Armed Services Committee, where she introduced several bills related to veteran issues. Gabbard also served on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. She supported the military campaign to defeat Islamic extremism, but opposed the U.S. intervention in the Syrian civil war. In her 4th term, Gabbard served on the HSC Subcommittee on Intelligence, which oversaw military intelligence and counterterrorism. Gabbard launched her 2020 presidential campaign, running on an anti-interventionist and populist platform, but dropped out and endorsed Joe Biden in March of 2020. Previously, she also served as vice chair of the Democratic National Committee from 2013 to 2016, but resigned to endorse Bernie Sanders for the 2016 Democratic presidential nomination. After her departure from Congress in 2021, Gabbard took stances on issues such as abortion, foreign policy, border security, and transgender rights that differed significantly from her former Democrat colleagues. She left the Democratic Party in 2022. In 2024, Gabbard endorsed Donald Trump for the president election and joined the Republican Party later that year. After Trump nominated Gabbard for DNI, her past statements on Syria and the Russian invasion of Ukraine drew scrutiny and concern. Many veterans and Republicans defended Gabbard's record, noting her military service and congressional experience. Because she was in Hawaii Congress in the early 2000s. In February of 2025, she was confirmed by the Senate, becoming the highest-ranking Pacific Islander American government official in U.S. history. How many records has this woman broken? Gabbard is the youngest person to serve as DNI and the first millennial to hold the office. Early life and education. So Gabbard was born April 12th, 81, and I'm gonna butcher this. In Leloaloa, Mauputasi County on American Samoa's main island of Tuila. And she was the 4th of 5 children born to Mike Gabbard and his wife Carol Nee Porter. In 1983, when Gabbard was 2 years old, her family moved back to Hawaii, where they had lived in the late 70s. Gabbard was raised in a multicultural household. Her mother was born in Indiana and grew up in Michigan, and her father, who is of Samoan and European ancestry, was born in American Samoa and grew up in Hawaii and Florida. Gabbard's childhood in Hawaii included surfing, martial arts, yoga. She was mostly homeschooled, except for 2 years at a girls' school in the Philippines. Gabbard learned spiritual principles such as karma from the ancient Indian text Bhagavad Gita, which I have right here, ladies and gentlemen, the Bhagavad Gita. Incredible book. Read it.
As a teenager, she settled into the Hindu faith. As a young adult, Gabbard worked for Stand Up for America, founded by her father in the wake of the September 11th attacks. Oh shit, my computer. Holy shit, bro. Yeah, I forgot I can't bend it back to sorry. There you go. Alright. She was also now not everybody's perfect, okay? Now she was against gay marriage. But let's see what she says about it. She was also associated with her father's The Alliance for Traditional Marriage and Values, an anti-gay marriage political action committee. She worked briefly as an educator for the Healthy Hawaii Coalition, which promoted protection of Hawaii's natural environment. Badass. Subsequently, she worked as a self-employed martial arts instructor. Wow. In 2002, when she was 21, Gabbard dropped out of Leeward Community College, where she had been studying television production, to run for election to the Hawaii State Legislature, and she became the youngest woman ever elected as a U.S. state representative. In 2009, Gabbard graduated from Hawaii Pacific University with a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration with a concentration in international business. All right, military service. In April of 2003, while serving in the Hawaii State Legislature, Gabbard enlisted in the Hawaii Armed National Guard. In July of 2004, she was deployed for a 12-month tour in Iraq, serving as a specialist with the Medical Company, 29th Support Battalion, 29th Infantry Brigade Combat Team of the Hawaiian Army National Guard. In Iraq, Gabbard served as Logistical Support Area Anaconda, completing her tour in 2005. Now, what is a Logistical Support Area Anaconda? Okay, it doesn't say. Because of the deployment, she chose not to campaign for her re-election to the state legislature. Gabbard received a combat medical badge in 2005 for participation in combat operations under enemy hostile fire in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom 3. She has been awarded the Meritorious Service Medal from the U.S. She also received the German Armed Forces Badge for military proficiency. That's interesting. Why would they give that to her? I guess it recognized real. In March of 2007, she graduated from the Accelerated Officer Candidate School at the Alabama Military Academy at the top of her class, the first woman to ever do so. After successfully completing the officer training, Gabbard was commissioned as a second lieutenant and assigned to the 29th Infantry Brigade Special Troops Battalion, this time to serve as an Army military police officer. She was stationed in Kuwait from 2008 to 2009 as an Army military police platoon leader. She was one of the first women to enter a Kuwaiti military facility, as well as the first woman to receive an award of appreciation from the Kuwait National Guard. On October 12, 2015, she was promoted from the rank of captain to major at a ceremony at the National Memorial Cemetery of the Pacific. She continued to serve as a major in the Hawaii Army National Guard until her transfer to the 351st Civil Affairs Command, a California-based United States Army Reserve, until assigned to the United States Army Civil Affairs and Psychological Operations Command in June of 2020. Big mouthful right there. On July 4th of 2021, Gabbard was promoted to the rank of Lieutenant Colonel, while she was deployed to the Horn of Africa, working as a civil affairs officer in support of a special operations mission. Subsequently, Gabbard was given the command of the 1st Battalion, 354th Regiment, based in Tulsa, Oklahoma. As a lieutenant colonel, Gabbard has top secret security clearance. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So her career as a Hawaii House of Representatives. In 2002, after redistricting, Gabbard won the 4-candidate Democratic primary for the 42nd District of the Hawaii House of Representatives with a plurality of 43% of the vote. Gabbard then won the general election with 60.7% of the vote, defeating Republican Alfonso Jimenez. At the age of 21, Gabbard became the youngest legislator ever elected in Hawaii's history and was at the time the youngest woman ever elected to a U.S. state legislator. In 2004, Gabbard filed for re-election, but then volunteered for Army National Guard service in Iraq. Rita Cabanilla, who filed to run against her, called on Gabbard to resign because she would not be able to represent her district from Iraq. Gabbard announced in August 2004 that she would not campaign for a second term, and Cabanilla won the Democratic primary with 58% of the vote. State law prevented the removal of Gabbard's name from the ballot. Then she was on Honolulu City Council from 2011 to 2012. After returning home from her second deployment to the Middle East in 2009, Gabbard ran for a seat on the Honolulu City Council, vacated by City Councilman Rod Tam of the 6th District, who decided to retire to run for mayor of Honolulu. In the 10-candidate nonpartisan open primary in September of 2010, Gabbard finished first with 26.8% of the vote. In the November 2nd runoff election, she defeated Sesnita Mopono with 49.5% of the vote. Gabbard introduced a measure to help food truck vendors by loosening parking restrictions. She also introduced Bill 54, a measure that authorized city workers to confiscate personal belongings stored on public property with 24 hours notice to its owner. Interesting. After overcoming opposition from the American Civil Liberties Union and Occupy Hawaii, Bill 54 passed and became City Ordinance 1129. Probably because they're trying to leave all their shit everywhere. Damn dirty hippies. Just kidding. All right, so then she went to the House of Representatives from 2013 to 21. This is so much. She was in the 113th Congress. She got reelected, went to the 114th Congress. She introduced the Off Fossil Fuels Act in 2017, which aimed for a transition to 100% clean energy by 2035, which maybe she feels different about now. I'm not sure, just because it's almost, I don't know. It's difficult to go 100% clean energy because if you got to use batteries, right? Batteries are mined from cobalt, lithium, which is being mined by children in slave labor. So, it's not always the end all be all. So she's in Congress for a long time. Okay, I like this. In October of 2019, former Secretary of State and 2016 presidential nominee Hillary Clinton suggested that Gabbard was a Russian asset. Gabbard was defended by fellow 2020 Democratic presidential candidates Andrew Yang, Pete Buttigieg, and Bernie Sanders, who rejected Clinton's suggestion that Gabbard was a Russian asset. Trump also defended Gabbard. Initial news stories had mistakenly also reported Clinton claimed Russia was grooming Gabbard to run as a third-party candidate, who would help President Donald Trump win re-election via spoiler effect. However, Gabbard has repeatedly said she would not run as a third-party candidate in 2020 and did not do so. CNN host Van Jones, meanwhile, opined that Clinton's statement was a complete smear with no facts. Gabbard herself condemned Clinton's remarks in tweets, calling Clinton the queen of warmongers and the personification of the rot that has sickened the Democratic Party for too long. Truer words that haven't been spoken in a minute. She claimed there was a campaign to destroy her reputation, orchestrated by Clinton via proxies in media and the war machine. In January of 2020, Gabbard filed a legal defamation lawsuit against Clinton over the Russian asset assertion, as indicted in the complaint, but it dropped 5 months later with her lawyer stating that legal merit was valid, but living in a post-COVID world, they would better focus their attention somewhere. Interesting. Also in October 2019, The Nation's James Carden wrote, McCarthyism has gone mainstream as media attacked Gabbard. He saw the Clinton-Gabbard feud as part of a long campaign of vilification against critics of the Russia consensus by Clinton and her allies in the media, which very much includes certain former high-ranking members of the U.S. intelligence community. This is on Wikipedia, my ladies and gentlemen. After both the November-December 2019 debates, Saturday Night Live parodies of these debates showed Gabbard as the villain, introduced her with menacing music and flashing lights, and had her actress laughing evil and making threats. When really that should have been Hillary Clinton, right? On March 3rd, 2020, Gabbard, who is of Samoan descent, earned 2 delegates in American Samoa, making her the second woman of color after Shirley Chisholm and the first Asian American and Pacific Islander presidential candidate to earn primary delegates. The fact that she's the first woman to do all this stuff, Hillary should have just celebrated her just for the simple fact of the progression of feminism, but no, it's not about that. As of March 15th, she was one of 3 remaining candidates alongside Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders who had not suspended their campaigns. In an interview on Fox, she highlighted a Rasmussen poll showing that 49% of voters supported her inclusion in debates with Sanders and Biden, and accused the DNC and the media of attempting to shut her down. Since her campaign's inception through tactics like character assassination, media blackouts, and blocking her message from reaching the public. I'm very thirsty. Couldn't reach the water. On March 19th of 2020, she dropped out of the 2020 election and endorsed former Vice President Joe Biden. She was the only candidate with primary delegates to not be invited to the 2020 Democratic National Convention. This war veteran, this first woman to do a bunch of stuff, first Asian American woman to do a bunch of stuff, was not invited to the Democratic National Convention of 2020. The party of inclusion, the party of pro-women, did not invite the most professional woman that was available for that. You know, she had primary delegates. Anyway, post-congressional activities from 2021 to 2025. In January of 21, Gabbard launched her own podcast called This is Tulsi Gabbard. She also made several appearances on Fox News programs since leaving Congress, where she criticized figures such as House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and U.S. Representative Adam Schiff, calling the latter a domestic terrorist for what she deems as his attempt to undermine our Constitution by trying to take away our civil liberties and rights in the aftermath of the 2021 storming of the U.S. Capitol. Okay, I'm not too up on 2021. Oh yeah, it was 2021. Yeah, that was crazy. And the videos that came out years later that showed that they were let in, that didn't go to the news. In November of 21, she celebrated the victory of Republican candidate Glenn Youngkin in the Virginia gubernatorial election over Democratic candidate Terry McAuliffe, and tweeted, "McAuliffe's loss is a victory for all Americans." Why? Because it was a resounding rejection of efforts to divide us by race, the stripping of parental rights, and arrogant, deaf leaders. This benefits us all. In an appearance on Hannity in April of 22, she expressed support for Florida's publicly debated parental rights bill. She said that in her opinion, it did not go far enough, that it only covered grades kinder through 3rd grade, while Gabbard believed it should have continued all the way to 12th grade. A follow-up bill in the state did just that 1 year later. In 2022, Gabbard spoke at the Conservative Political Action Conference, drawing criticism from Hawaii Democrats. all the good she did for Hawaii as a Democrat. They're going to throw all that out the window just because she went to speak at a conservative political action. I mean, we should be reaching over the aisle to work with each other, right? Party switch. It's like they pushed her. On October 11th of 2022, Gabbard announced on Twitter that she was leaving the Democratic Party, accusing its leadership of cowardly wokeness, anti-white racism, hostile to people of faith and spirituality, and dragging us closer to nuclear war. Shortly thereafter, she endorsed and campaigned for several Donald Trump-supported Republican candidates in the 22 midterm elections. Among those she endorsed were Senate candidates Don Bolduc, Adam Laxalt, and J.D. Vance, and Arizona gubernatorial candidate Kari Lake. Following Donald Trump's entry into the 2024 Republican presidential primary, commenters suggested that he might consider Gabbard as a potential running mate. That'd be awesome, but the left wouldn't allow it. They would. On February 22nd, 2024, she was a featured speaker at CPAC, raising speculation of her candidacy as a potential vice presidential selection. During a Fox and Friends interview on March 6th, she was directly asked about serving as Trump's vice president. She responded, "I would be honored to serve our country in that way and be in a position to help President Trump." In March of 24, Trump cited her as one of his potential choices for his running mate. Interesting. On August 26th of 2024, Gabbard endorsed Trump's re-election bid during the National Guard Association gathering in Michigan. The next day, she was named as an honorary co-chair of his presidential transition team alongside Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s, joining Trump's son and the Republican vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance. On October 22nd of 24, while speaking at a Trump rally in Greensboro, North Carolina, she announced she was joining the Republican Party. Media appearances. In August of 22, Gabbard started serving as the fill-in host for Tucker Carlson Tonight, and she continued to be a frequent guest host of the show until its cancellation of 23. In November of 2022, after years of being a frequent guest on several of their programs, she signed a deal with Fox News as a paid contributor. She currently serves as a frequent guest and occasional host on shows such as The Five, Outnumbered, Hannity, Jesse Waters Primetime, and Gutfield. All right, Director of National Intelligence. So on November 13th of 2024, President-elect Donald Trump nominated Gabbard as Director of National Intelligence, citing her military experience and leadership, which she does have a lot of. Support. Republican senators defended her nomination against Democratic criticisms, with Senator Eric Schmidt arguing that political differences do not equate to disloyalty, and Senator Mark Wayne Mullen rejecting claims that she was compromised by Russia, which was already proved. On January 27, 25, former intelligence and national security officials expressed support for Gabbard, asserting she would help depoliticize intelligence agencies. Libertarian-leaning GOP senators backed her anti-interventionist stance, and former Trump Deputy National Security Advisor Victoria Coates emphasized the need for new intelligence leadership given global events. Former CIA counterterrorism Chief Bernard Hudson praised her integrity and experience. The National Border Patrol Council and the National Sheriff's Association endorsed her for her commitment to national security. Over 250 veterans, including Representative Brian Mast and former Acting Secretary of Defense Christopher C. Miller, signed a letter supporting her nomination. Vice President J.D. Vance and the Secretary of State Mark Rubio highlighted her military and congressional experience as qualifications for the role. Opposition. Of course, there's opposition. Because if nobody's hating, you're doing something wrong. Gabbard's nomination was met with controversy, of course. Media coverage was widely critical, and Democrats raised concerns about her past meeting with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad and remarks perceived as aligning with Russian narratives. Critics, including former CIA Director Leon Panetta, questioned her lack of intelligence experience and opposition to U.S. involvement in Ukraine. The New York Times noted that while Russian media had amplified Gabbard's foreign policy views, there was no evidence of collaboration with Russian intelligence, and she had opposed Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Democratic congressmen, including Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Jason Crow, Tammy Duckworth, and Elizabeth Warren, we all know Elizabeth Warren, labeled her a likely Russian asset. All bullshit. All unfounded rumors. They should be sued for libel, but this is what's going on right now. Over 100 former national security officials signed a letter opposing her nomination. Gabbard's spokesperson dismissed these concerns as politically motivated attacks. Confirmation. Gabbard testified before the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence on January 30th of 2025. She pledged to separate her political views from her official duties. Those who oppose my nomination imply that I am loyal to something or someone other than God, my own conscience, and the Constitution of the United States. Accusing me of being Trump's puppet, Putin's puppet, Assad's puppet, a guru's puppet, Modu's puppet, not recognizing the absurdity of simultaneously being the puppet of 5 different puppet masters, she said in her opening statement. She denied knowing Edward Snowden while he worked in Hawaii's NSA facility and defended her past advocacy for reforming the Espionage Act, including a House resolution she introduced with Representative Matt Gaetz. Senators repeatedly asked Gabbard to label Snowden a traitor, but she declined, citing the term's legal and political implications in a follow-up op-ed. She acknowledged Snowden had broken the law by releasing information that caused harm, though she also highlighted the exposure of illegal surveillance practices. She confirmed she would not, as DNI, advocate for Snowden's pardon or clemency. So he broke the law, but he's not a traitor because he let us know that they were illegally. But she's not going for his pardon. Senator Michael Bennet criticized her stance on Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. Gabbard clarified her position, defending the necessity of 702 for national security while stressing the need for reforms to protect civil liberties, particularly advocating for warrants in certain U.S. person queries. Post-hearing, she committed to collaborate with the committee on reauthorizing and any additional reforms. Let's see. In response to concerns about, regarding her 2017 Syria trip with former Congressman Dennis Kucinich, she stated that he arranged the meetings and denied knowledge of extremist remarks made by Grand Mufti Ahmad Badreddin Hassoun. She clarified that her trip had been cleared by House Ethics and that she informed the Trump administration upon her return. In response to concerns about intelligence disclosures, Gabbard stated she would ensure whistleblowers had proper legal channels, including a direct hotline to the DNI. She assured Senator Todd Young that she would not protect those who disclosed classified intelligence programs improperly. Smart. She's saying, smart. Senator Susan Collins supported her nomination after Gabbard clarified her stance on Snowden and reducing the size of the DNI office. Senator James Lankford, initially concerned about the surveillance policies, also backed her after her explanations. On February 4th of 2025, the Senate Intelligence Committee advanced her nomination in a 9-8 party line vote. Senator Lisa Murkowski announced her support on February 10th of 2025, stating that while she had concerns about some of Gabbard's past positions, she appreciated her commitment to oversight and ensuring civil liberties remain protected. The Senate confirmed her nomination on February 12th in a 52-48 vote, with only Senator Mitch McConnell among Republicans voting no. That turtle-looking piece of tenure. Gabbard was sworn in as the 8th Director of National Intelligence on February 12th, 2025 by Attorney General Pam Bondi, taking the position responsible for leading 18 U.S. intelligence agencies and assuming the role of President's top intelligence advisor. After her swearing in, Gabbard promised to focus on ensuring the safety, security, and freedom of the American people while echoing Trump's claims of politicization of the intelligence community and the need to rebuild trust. With this appointment, she became the first female military combat veteran, to serve as DNI and the first Pacific Islander American and first Hindu American to hold a cabinet level position. How in the world is that not news? How is there not books? How is there not reports in a movie? It doesn't make sense. Immediately after being sworn in, Gabbard made her first international trip as DNI to Germany to attend the Munich Security Conference. In March of 2025, Gabbard's second international trip was to Asia with a focus on the Indo-Pacific, including Japan, Thailand, and India. Before traveling to Asia, Gabbard stopped in Hawaii, which hosts the U.S. military's Indo-Pacific Command headquarters. In her visit to India, Gabbard attended the Raisina Dialogue, an annual multinational conference of security officials held in New Delhi, and outlined the Trump administration's strategy for global peace and security. Also this month, Gabbard, along with other senior members of the administration, discussed the plans for U.S. attacks in Yemen on a Signal group chat that leaked to journalist Jeffrey Goldberg. Now, this was on the news recently. When questioned by Congress, Gabbard admitted sharing the information with Goldberg was a mistake, but claimed none of the information shared was classified. Boom. After the Signal leak, reporters of Der Spiegel used online leak data to find personal information such as emails, phone numbers, and messaging accounts of several U.S. security officials, including Gabbard, who was exposed on WikiLeaks and Reddit. Gabbard's office responded that Gabbard had not used the online accounts for several years and that her data leak occurred nearly 10 years ago. But Der Spiegel reported that Gabbard's private Google account was active 2 weeks prior and that the messages sent by Der Spiegel to Gabbard's WhatsApp and Signal accounts appeared to be successfully delivered. That means nothing. Anyway, all right, so there's domestic policy positions. Oh, she's been outspoken against a broken criminal justice system that puts people in prison for smoking marijuana while allowing pharmaceutical corporations responsible for opioid-related deaths to walk away scot-free with their coffers full. She said that as president, she would end the failed war on drugs. Man, toast to Gabbard for president, ladies and gentlemen. She would end the war on drugs, legalize marijuana, end cash bail, and ban private prisons. She has introduced bills she has introduced include the Ending Federal Marijuana Prohibition Act and the Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment and Expungement Act. In January of 2020, in response to a question from a voter, Gabbard called for legalizing and regulating all drugs, citing Portugal's model for drug. I'm sure she's changed her. All drugs is kind of crazy, in my opinion. But who knows? Citing Portugal's model for drug decriminalization. In June of 2020, Gabbard introduced an amendment to the House version of 2021 NDAA to allow members of armed services to use products containing CBD and other hemp derivatives. Oh, that's good. It was approved 336-71 as a package, although House leaders did not fight for its inclusion in the final bill. Damn. Members of armed services to be able to, not even THC, just CBD. Let's see. Along with 47 other Democrats, expressed support in 2015 for increased border security and voted with Republicans for vetting of Iraqi and Syrian refugees. At that time, Gabbard also called for halting the visa waiver program after mass numbers of Syrian immigrants entered Germany until the threat of terrorist attacks was resolved. However, between 2013 and 2021, Gabbard had also expressed support for an easier path to citizenship for immigrants without legal status, increasing skilled immigration, and granting work visas to immigrants. By 22, she had said she had opened to a proposal for a border wall if experts say it is warranted. Now on the environment. She's often supported the causes of Native Americans and tribal lands, such as her support for the Standing Rock Sioux tribe against the construction of the controversial Dakota Access Pipeline in 2016, which was done by the Obama administration. That's whenever there was Native Americans out there protesting, and they were getting sprayed down by orders of the Obama administration. Wherein she co-signed a letter requesting the Obama administration to address the tribal concerns about the project. Gabbard successfully passed an amendment to the 2019 National Defense Authorization Act that would require the Department of Energy to re-examine the safety of the Runit Dome, a leaking Cold War-era nuclear waste site in the Marshall Islands. She later called for fresh eyes to ensure a more independent assessment of the waste site's safety. Gabbard has spoken in favor of the Green New Deal, but expressed concerns about vagueness in some proposed versions of the legislation and its inclusion of nuclear energy. She advocated her own Off Fossil Fuels for a Better Future Act, or the OFF Act, as legislation to transition the United States to renewable energy. Healthcare and GMO labeling. Gabbard supported a national healthcare program to cover uninsured as well as underinsured people and allowed supplemental but not duplicative private insurance. She has since advocated for a two-tier universal healthcare plan that she calls Single Payer Plus, loosely modeled after Australia's system and allowing for both supplementary and duplicative private insurance. I have no idea what that means. So she's, okay. Let's see. She voted present when the House of Representatives voted to impeach President Trump in December 2019. So this shows that a person can change their mind. Just because you think one way doesn't mean that you can be proven wrong, that you can't be proven wrong. In 2 video messages and a press release, she cited the Federalist Papers essay number 65 and described her vote as a protest against a political zero-sum game. Gabbard introduced H.Res. 766, which would censure Trump for several of his foreign policy decisions and send a strong message to this president and future presidents that their abuses of power will not go unchecked, while leaving the question of removing Trump from office to the voters to decide. A week later, Gabbard said she had serious concerns that the impeachment would increase the likelihood that her party would lose the presidential election and its majority in the House of Representatives. LGBTQ rights. Her views on LGBTQ rights have changed over the years, as evidenced by her 2013 signing of an amicus brief supporting gay marriage while in her early years. She was associated with her father's campaign opposing gay marriage. In 1998, when she was 17, Gabbard supported her father's successful campaign to amend the Constitution of Hawaii to give lawmakers the power to reserve marriage to opposite-sex couples. She also favored the federal marriage amendment that would prevent overriding state law with regard to same-sex marriage. However, in 2012, she apologized for her anti-gay advocacy and said she would fight for the repeal of the Defense of Marriage Act. In June 13, she was an initial co-sponsor of the legislation to repeal DOMA. Gabbard was a member of the House LGBT Equality Caucus. She received ratings of 92%, 88%, 100%, and 84% of her 4 congressional terms for pro-LGBT legislation from the Human Rights Campaign, a group that advocates for LGBT rights. More pluses. After launching her presidential campaign in 2019, Gabbard apologized for her past anti-gay views and said that her views had been changed by her experience in the military with LGBTQ service members, both here at home and while deployed. After criticism from Democrats over her past anti-gay remarks, she was defended by conservative pundit Tucker Carlson, journalist Glenn Greenwald, and openly gay representative Sean Patrick Maloney. In 2020, Gabbard and Republican U.S. Representative Mark Wayne Mullen introduced a bill titled Protect Women's Sports Act that would seek to define Title IX protections on the basis of an individual's biological sex. After introducing the bill, Gabbard was condemned by activists and LGBTQ organizations, including the Human Rights Campaign, which said Gabbard has lost all credibility as an ally. Like that. 4 years. She got A+ from this group of people, from the Human Rights Campaign. She advocated for them. She passed bills for them. She does one thing that they disagree with, she's lost all credibility as an ally. In 2022, Gabbard endorsed the Florida Parental Rights in Education Act, which prohibits public schools in Florida from having classroom discussion or giving classroom instruction about sexual orientation or gender identity from kindergarten through 3rd grade, or in any manner deemed to be against state standards in all grades. She said the bill bans government and government schools from indoctrinating woke sexual values in our schools to a captive audience. She also suggests that the bill should apply to all grades. Woke has been changed. Woke has been changed to its meaning. Words, gay. Words' meanings have changed, right? And sometimes just in a matter of years, we see how woke became a great thing to woke, like, oh, that's woke, to it's like a overly panderous. All right, so I'm going to wrap up on her. She's a total badass to me. Tulsi Gabbard for president. So 2025 would be 2029. At some point, she's still very young. She was born in 81. But with all her experience and stuff, shit. All right, we're going to do a freestyle. We're going to get out of here. Thank you guys for listening and watching. Be right back. Yeah. I found a beat. This from Young Fam Official on YouTube. This is one of the first beats I pulled up. It's called Spring. Yo. Man, I'm faded, elevated. Only smoke on the green that's super high graded. I'm graded like cheese. Yeah. Man, I go so hard, they call my flow concrete. Ever since I was young, I went hard on the beat. Never faked it, never fronted for the street. But I ran if I had to for the heat. Man, this a freestyle. So I'm fucking up, cause it's been a while since I fucking flowed on a damn beat with no reason. Just a damn skeet, bleep, reap. So what you sow? Man, I'm really fucking up this flow. Welcome spring, welcome bling. In the sky, Saturn's rings. I can see birds fly. I can see angels fly. I can also see the world dies. And sometimes you gotta let your eye cry. Man, this flow is kinda whack. But that's okay, cause I'ma put it with a strap. I'ma send it down the Nile. Like I'm the what cheat child. It's been a while. I've been faded. All right, let me try again. Yeah. Glasses off. Yeah, I'm in space. Let me get a motherfucking taste of the cigar in disgrace. As I lose the race of the rats, I go to bat Let them know that I'm down for my cats and my dogs and the hogs. And I keep on going through the fogs. Man, remember all the pogs. Remember all the logs in the journal. Man, I used to piss in the urinal. Like, damn, I always missed. What is this? I miss the old days, the 90s, where my homies just played. Where we was outside with the bugs and the birds, giving hugs to the girls in our classes. But then we started looking at their asses. Bye, y'all. I love y'all. I'll see y'all next time on the Friday podcast. You know what it is. You know what it isn't. Please like and subscribe, ladies and gentlemen. This is from Fat Killer Beats. A good way to outro. The album 34/7, I mean the EP 34/7 is out. Check it out. Link in the description. Also, gotta subscribe to this channel. It's called Weird Dreams by Fat Killer Beats. Dark Days, Bright Nights is still available. The Odd Pod channel, where we have wrestling podcasts. We have the Odd Pod podcast with me and a bunch of friends. So it's not just me talking to you, which people seem to like, but that's cool. But also check it out with the homies. What else we got? We got Odd Pod Cooks. Got a couple Spanish episodes. Got a couple, we got all kinds of shit. We're going to be making more shit. So go subscribe to that. The link is in the fucking subscription. It should be. I'm going to make sure it's in the subscription because the Odd Pod channel. We only got 95 subscribers on that. We got 760 on this one. I need my friends and family to go also to the Odd Pod channel. You know, 2 channels ain't too much. Love y'all. Peace.
"2020, no fear. Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering, so scared is what I ain't. Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering, so scared is what I ain't. To the colonizers, my people was savage, while they raped and stole, only leaving us Spanish. Agriculturally advanced, but they had the cannons, had disease to infect so that we would vanish. That shit was lighter than ours, so they had the advantage. White supremacy's a joke, cause white dicks below average. From the Native Americans, giving liquor for land, to melanated enslaved who built it all by hand. Chinese died building roads, it all stems from jealousy. The Hitler's genocide, so fuck white supremacy. If we're the tribes of Israel, that's why some of us miserable. They try and separate us, but we are indivisible, literal individuals. Bound by the spiritual, connected to my people via metaphysical. Staying positive's priority. I need my mind strong. No fear, no hate, baby. Always ready for the wrong. Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering, so scared is what I ain't. Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering, so scared is what I ain't. Sometimes I almost